Class is in session and I'm gonna need you to listen very, and I mean very carefully. I know you read the title of this video, and if you still don't agree with me by the end, then I don't know what else to tell you. That's your opinion. Hey guys, Xlizandria X here, and in today's video is actually about a topic that I'm very passionate about. Love talking about the restaurant industry because I feel like it's such a misunderstood industry. It's a miseducation industry. A lot of people don't know about. A lot of people don't know about what goes on behind the scenes, behind the kitchen doors. Like I've said in my previous video about facts about the restaurant industry, I'll definitely go leave that linked up here, I believe. I think it's on this side. I think it's on that side. Like I said, if you don't agree with anything that I'm saying, you can watch this video all the way through. I can debunk everything that you probably thought about the restaurant industry. And if you still don't agree with me, like I said, that is totally fine. That's your opinion. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I'm just spreading extra light onto this situation about the restaurant industry. So let's get further on with the video. So first, let's talk about the basics. Like, what is tipping anyways? According to Wikipedia, a gratuity, often called a tip, is a sum of money customarily given by a customer to certain service sectors workers, such as hospitality, for the service they have performed, in addition to the basic price of the service. So when you go out to a restaurant, something like Cheesecake Factory, P.F. Chang's, fine dining, or even fast casual, not only are you paying for the food, but you're also supposed to pay your server for servicing you as well, especially if they've given you good service. Now I know, now we're thinking, where in the world did tipping even come from? Like, where did that even come from in the first place? Like, why are we doing that? Oh, let's go to Google AI. According to Google AI, tipping, or the practice of giving gratuities for service, has roots in medieval Europe and became widespread in the United States after the Civil War, with some historians suggesting it was influenced by aristocratic practices and used to supplement low wages for service workers. I also did see a video one time before that also after the Civil War, when black people started working, you know, they wanted to pay black service workers as low as they can because you know the dark history behind black people in this country, and it's just heartbreaking to hear. That's why they kept it up. Now, after these two explanations, I now want to talk about some reasonings as to why people don't tip, reasonings I've seen online, and reasonings that I've even heard in real life as to why some people don't tip, and other observations as to why people just choose not to tip their server. Number one, which is a pretty popular reason as to why a lot of people do not tip their server, is that people believe that tipped employees should be paid a decent wage. Now, this has been an argument that has been going on for years on end, years on years. And although I feel like even servers themselves would say, yeah, that actually is pretty good logic, that, you know, that why would you pay somebody $2.13 an hour? That's ridiculous. But here's the issue with paying a server decent wage, or at least minimum wage. I live in North Carolina, so the North Carolina minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, but I know some people would say, well, you know, servers deserve more than that. So if your server, let's say, got paid $15 an hour, all restaurants would be ghost towns. You do realize that and a lot of people don't understand why that can be. So let's say that your crab cakes, right, at a restaurant could be like, I don't know, 18 bucks. Like 2 crab cakes for apps, $18. You do realize that those crab cakes are gonna skyrocket to about 40. A lot of people tend to not realize that if we paid servers a decent wage, your food prices on the menu would go up tremendously, because you have to remember, if you're running a whole establishment, you have to think about the back of the house and the front of the house, all the people that work there. Now managers get paid salary, so that's kind of like a little different, but at the same time you have back of house workers, people who work in the back, you have the dishwashers, people who work in the prep line, the food runner. Literally, those are like back of house workers. And back of house workers, it's illegal to tip out back of house workers in most states, so they have to get paid an hourly wage anyway. And then you're gonna now have a decent wage for your servers, but not just your servers, your hostess, your bussers, your bartenders. If they all get paid 15 an hour just like the server, that's why food costs on the restaurant, your menu would have to go up so you can pay everybody equally. So yeah, your restaurant would be a ghost town. Cheesecake Factory would be a ghost town. Nobody would ever dine at Cheesecake Factory. Nobody would even go to Chili's. Like nobody would go to Chili's. Like even like things on the kids menu, like chicken nuggets, chicken tenders won't even be like 10 bucks. Chicken tenders will be like $35. 3 little chicken tenders and a couple of fries, $35. Ain't that something? So that's why your server can't get paid a decent wage, or at least minimum wage, because everything in the restaurant would skyrocket to 2 times the price, because now no one's getting tipped, right? And no one's tipped and there's no tip out, which that is something that we'll talk about a little bit later. Another reason why people don't tip is something that I've also observed as well, is that some people just grow up poor. So when some people grow up poor, you never go out to eat. I've known like when people grow up poor, and like some servers that I know, they've been like, yeah, me and my family grew up poor, so we never went out to eat growing up. It's like, so when you grow up poor and you don't go out to eat, you don't know how to tip, or you don't tip at all because you think it's kind of like McDonald's or everything like that. Oh, I just pay for the meal, I don't pay the server, I just pay for the meal. But you're not just paying for the meal, you have to pay your server as well. So people just don't understand that when people grow up poor and they finally grow up to have money and they can go out to these restaurants, you know, them tipping doesn't necessarily make any sense, because it's like, well, I never went out to eat growing up, and I never saw my parents put anything on the tip, or I never really saw my parents tipping. If they did, I don't know how much it was, so I don't even know how much I should tip. So that's why, you know, if you grow up poor, that's probably why sometimes people don't tip, or they tip very poorly. This next reason honestly irks me so bad, and I don't understand why people would ever part their lips to say this, but here goes. The next reason is you shouldn't take a job that only pays you $2.13 an hour, relying on others to pay you. I addressed it in my last video when I talked about the restaurant industry words, but I'll say it here again. A lot of people that work in the restaurant industry have regular 9 to 5. Sometimes that regular 9 to 5 cannot get them by in life, so they have to have the serving job to at least, you know, pay, you know, maybe gas and car payments and rent. Like, you know, they need that extra money, because the 9 to 5, like, I know, like, there's like a good amount of teachers that are servers, and we know that teaching, like being a teacher in America, at least, teachers do not get paid diddly squat in America. Like, they get paid bottom of the barrel, working with these bad kids all day. I'm sorry. Working with these kids all day. Servers are teachers. They have 9 to 5s, or high school teacher, elementary school teacher, middle school teacher. They are teachers, but teaching don't get them by, so they need to have a serving job. Some of these people are, you know, in school right now. Some of these people are college students, and serving is a best way to help pay for college tuitions and housing and whatever, you know, the case may be. Some of these people are parents, and serving is just a flexible job for them, so that whenever they need to get off the clock, they can go pick up their kids whenever need be. You know, well, not all serving jobs are flexible, but if it's depending on the restaurant that you work at, if it's flexible or not. It just depends on which one you're working at. But if it is a flexible one and you have a kid, oh, let me go and pick up my kid from daycare. Like, I have to go get my child from daycare. So, and some of these people are, you know, going to be like nurses or lawyers or real estate agents, but they're just waiting on a call back. so they're still at their serving job. Like, you never know what somebody is going through and what someone's financial situation is, which is why somebody may be at the job that they are at. So that's why I don't like when people say I would never take a job like that, because you don't know what someone's life circumstance is to the point where they have to have a serving job. Someone has had a troubled life, or maybe sometimes, like I've said before, serving is just someone's calling. I've met servers who have been servers literally for like 25 years, and they are good at it because that is their calling in life. Serve people, to make those connections, and to make their community. It's just a calling on their life. So I hate when people say I would never take a job that would only pay me $2.13. I can't stand that. No. A follow-up to the last reasoning is you chose this life. Like I said, no one chose to necessarily be a server. I guarantee you a lot of people and a lot of servers who are servers didn't even want to be a server, most likely, but they knew like this is probably the only job I can get right now. This is the only job I can get right now. So I guess I'll be a server for the time being until I can get, like, because some people are like insurance brokers and stuff, until I can get my insurance broker job, or until I get my my party business off the ground. I have to work this serving job to at least get me by in some form of fashion. And I'm not saying that serving is always, you know, glitz and glam or whatever, because it is definitely real hard work. And I can't stand, that's another rant, but I just can't stand when y'all treat servers like they're nobody. Like the server is beneath you. No, like I can't stand when people do that. But I'm gonna leave that alone. And the last reason is something that I've seen happen quite often, is that you just can't afford to tip your server. That you only brought enough money for the food, but you didn't bring enough money to pay the person who serviced you. I'm sorry, what? Come again? I'm sorry, can you say that just one last time for me? Just say it again. You brought enough money to eat, but you didn't bring enough money to pay your server? Heavy side eye. So those are some reasonings as to why some people just don't tip. Now I'm gonna get into some science as to things y'all don't know. Now let's talk about people who tip poorly, or people who just don't necessarily know how to tip. In today's video, it's going to be more of an interactive video, more of a mathematical video, and the science behind it all. And I'm super excited for this video. I really been wanting to make this video for a long time. But a lot of things that a lot of people don't know is that when you tip your server, let's say your bill is $100 and you only tip like $2. I've heard people say, well, it's going to the server anyway. Did you know that your $2 that you tipped on your card is not going to your server? It's going to the server's taxes, but also that $2 is getting tipped out. That $2 is getting tipped out to front of house workers, like the hostess, the bartender, the busser. Those are front of house workers, and that server has to tip them out. And there is a percentage. Now, not all restaurants, but some restaurants do like 3%. So in today's video, we're gonna use 3%. Gratuity on most credit card tabs are 20%, 18 to 20%. That is the suggested gratuity that you'll typically see a lot of the times. I'm gonna have this receipt that I actually got from when I went out to IHOP a while ago. And I was gonna throw it away, meant to throw it away, but then thought of this video and I was like, I'm keeping it for the video. So my bill, I ate alone, so it was just me, and my bill was $18.05, and it has the suggested gratuities for 18%, 20%, and 22%. 18% of that tip would have been $3.25. 20% of that would be $3.61, and 22% of that would be $3.97. Now, I definitely tipped my server way more than that because he worked really hard, and I went in like the middle of the day where the breakfast service, you know, was like slowed down, because like, I mean, it's IHOP, people go at breakfast time, so it's probably packed at breakfast time, but at lunch, like, nobody was in there. And I don't know how long he had been there, so I'm like, let me pick him up. So I definitely tipped him way more than these suggested gratuities, but that is pretty much, so the ideal tip percentage, I always say tip more, but the ideal is at least 20%. So since my bill is $18.05, I should be tipping the server $3.61, which isn't that bad. Some people don't even want to pay that when they eat alone. They just don't want to pay it all. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing the math as to the tipped out employees and how much you really should be tipping your server. So let's focus this video onto another part of my room so I can show y'all what I'm talking about. Okay, class. All right. So let's get on with the board, and I'm going to be using these Crayola. They're washable markers. This is my wall. Yes, I'm going to clean my wall right after this video because I'm not going to have all this stuff just sitting on my wall just because. And I've done math like this before, so y'all be patient with me. So today's example, we're going to use $100. I feel like $100 is always the perfect example to use for a situation like this. So let's establish this, okay? So let's say, and I'm gonna zoom in on this video as well so y'all can see like when I'm editing, so y'all will know. So your bill is $100, right? So, and gratuity for grat is 20%. So what should your grat be? Your gratuity should be $20. Now, a lot of people, when they think that I tip my server $20 on card, is going to them. Now, I will say this. When you tip your server in cash, if you give your server a $20 bill, right, they get to keep the $20 bill. So let's go on and actually establish that. Like I said, yes, let's go on and establish this. If it's in cash, the $20 is in cash, they keep this. But let's go to card. So y'all can barely see, but this is what we've established thus far. Now let's talk about tipped out employees. Like I said, a tipped out employee is the hostess, the bussers, and the bartender. But the server has to pay each busser, each bartender, and each hostesses. So let's say if there's 3 hostesses on that night, okay, 1 bartender and 2 bussers, right? And I'm just going to use the example of 3% because I do know a good amount of restaurants do 3% for tip out. So we're going to do 3%. So mind you, 3 plus 1 plus 2 equals 6. So that is 6 tip out employees. Let's zoom in again. 3 hosts, 1 bartender, and 2 bussers. So that's 6 tipped out employees, right? And what percentage is being tipped out? The percentage. The percent is 3%. So now we're gonna say, what is 3% of $20? Okay, what is 3% of $20? 3% of $20 is 60 cents. So now you're gonna multiply 60 cents times 6, because remember, this is 6 tipped out employees. So now 60 cents times 6, make sure you get your calculators to correct my math if I'm wrong, but the answer is $3.60. I'm gonna pull out my calendar on my phone, no, my calculator on my phone to make sure I am correct here. But let's just do some math real quick. I'm gonna do it right in front of y'all. 60 cents times 6 is 3.6, so that's $3.60. I am right. Your teacher's right, okay? You have to subtract $20 from $3.60. If we're gonna do that math, that is $16.40. So you right now you think that your server is getting this. But that's incorrect. Because guess what? Your server is getting a tax cut. Now, it depends on the server's tax cut, because some servers get more taxes taken out of their check than others. So it just depends on who it is that server. So even after the tax cut, that server is now left with either between $8 to $12.40. Like I said, this is just depending on the server's tax cut, but this is how much is being taken out their taxes. Look, that's a whole $8 deducted from this right here. So overall, we can see here that, you know, we can either have one or two things. You can either tip your server in cash. Let me zoom y'all back in. We can either tip our server in cash or tip 30%. Now I know you're thinking, why would I tip my server more than 20%? I barely want to give them 10. But let's do the mathematics. If we tipped our server 30%. Now remember, we're still going to keep the bill at $100 because that's easier, I think, for y'all to understand. And this time your GRAT is 30%. So you're gonna be tipping $30. Okay, now we're still gonna use the same example from earlier with our 6, if my camera can focus, with our 6 tipped out employees. 3 hostesses, 1 bartender, 2 bussers. That is 6 tipped out employees. And we're still gonna take 3% from that. So we're gonna come back over here to our new equation. So let's ask that question again. What is 3% of $30? Okay, class, and what is the answer that we get? The answer that we get is 90 cents. So now we're gonna multiply 90 cents times 6, because we're still working with 6 tipped out employees. This is equaling to $5.40. So now we're going to take $30 minus $5.40. What is that equaling to? What is that equation? That is equaling to $24.60. Now mind you, once again, this is how much they tipped out. But this is what before tax cut. This is before the tax cut. And remember, not all servers get taxed out the same. Some have more taxes taken out, some others don't. So really, like I said, it just depends on who the server is. But this is just a guesstimate on the tax takeout and on that tax cut from this bill. This server is now left with $16 to $20.60. Like I said, that's a whole $8 taken away. $16. So if we come back out, if we look at our 20% gratuity, this is our 20% gratuity, and this gratuity right here from earlier was before the tax cut. That was before the tax cut. So with your 30% over here, with your 30%, you're essentially giving the server what they had before their tax cut in the 20%. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And I know some servers probably get more taxes taken out than this, but this was just a guesstimate for this video. Some servers might not even get $16. I mean, they might only get 10. Like I said, it really just depends on who the server is. So the moral of this, honestly, so let me write down the moral of it all, because moral. So what did we learn from this video? Yes, Timothy in the back. Yes, tip in cash. Okay. Or what? There's another one that we're missing. Samantha back there, yes. Tip more. If you're what something else you're missing, Samantha? What is it, Samantha? Tip more. If it's on card, you're right. It's on card. Right over here. So I'm gonna title this The Guide of Tipping. This class, you're gonna have to take this into everyday life. Now that you've watched this video and understand the science behind tipping, I know a lot of y'all probably did not know that this is something that happened. This is something that happened. And a lot of y'all probably did not know this. A lot of y'all probably did not know that. Well, thank you for watching this video, because now you do. But yes, a lot of y'all didn't know that. A lot of y'all did not know this. I guarantee you, I know most of y'all watching this video, if you aren't in the restaurant industry, most of y'all did not know that a percentage gets tipped out to the hostess, the bartender, and the busser. I bet y'all a lot of y'all thought that those people only got paid like hourly wages. That is not true. That is heavily far from the truth. And this is a bonus feature, actually. I want to do a little something different. Let's do a little bit of a bonus. Let's do some bonus. If your bill is $100, I'm gonna use $100. Like I said, $100. And you tip 2 on card. On card. And if we tip 2 on card, this is what happens to your server. This is what happens to your server. Let's talk about it, because this is something that I want y'all to be aware of. Let's talk about this. If your bill is $100 and you tip $2 on card, this is what happens. Remember, we made an establishment, and we're going to still use the same example that we had up top, the tipped out employees, the 6 tipped out employees. What is 3% of $2? Let's talk about that. That is leaving us with 6 cents, right? Not 60, 6. So now we're going to do that math. 6 cents. So what is 6 cents times 6? Let's get the calculators out. That's 36 cents. So now we're subtracting $2 from 36 cents. Oh, y'all can't even see where I've gone. We're subtracting $2 from 36 cents. Okay. Here we go. Turning that into a 1, a 10, a 9. 4, 6, 1. It's $1.64. Remember, what is this? That is before tax cut. BTC, before the tax cut. And remember, since servers are, and a lot of people don't know as well, servers are considered entrepreneurs because they make their own money. So they're in a higher tax bracket. Remember that. The taxes are getting cut. So, and like we've established, and I'm going to subtract $8 from this, I'm going to use my calculator. 164 minus $8. What is that getting us? That just left your server in the negatives. So now that server's tax cut is now negative $6.36. And guess what? Do you know what that means? A lot of people don't know what this means. But I'm about to tell y'all what this means. When this is in the negatives, that just means, guess what? Server your server just paid for you to eat at the restaurant. You're not paying them, they're paying you. Your server just paid for you to eat. You gotta remember this. When your bill's $100 and you tip $2 on the card, remember that's on the card, that's 6 cents. 6 cents times 6 for the tipped out employee, 36 cents, that's $1.64. But what I just say, that $1.64 is before the tax cut. Then when the taxes get cut, and like I said, I used $8. Let's put that down. EX8. Your server lost money on your table. They lost $6.36 on you. And what did we establish? That means that your server technically paid for you to eat, not them, not you paying them. They paid for you, and now they owe the restaurant money. You get what I'm saying? Like, look at this. Zoom all y'all out. I know y'all can barely see this, but this is what I'm talking about. This is what we're working with. This is the life of a server. These are the things that your server is stressing about. You do realize this, right? Class, I'm going back to my desk. Okay, so I know now the question you're asking is, what is the moral of this video? The moral of this video is, like I said, is to teach y'all how to tip better when y'all go out to these restaurants. So the next time your bill is $100, what are we tipping? I have a lot of heart for servers. Servers go through it, pulling double shifts 2 weeks in a row sometimes, just to make ends meet at home, just for people to not know the science and the math behind tipping and behind serving, and what these servers go through day in and day out for their kids, for their jobs, to make ends meet, for their rent. And a lot of y'all don't know that, but yet y'all treat servers like they're the scum on your shoe because they work at these restaurants that only pay them below minimum wage. Y'all say, I don't believe in paying my server. I'm paying for the food. They should get paid more. When really, like we've established earlier in this video, that can't happen. So the next time you go out to eat, think about this video, do the math, and ask your server. Don't be scared to ask them, like, hey, if I tip you in cash, does that go into like a tip pool, or do you get to keep it? Like, does that goes like out to the hostess? And if they say no, that stays with me, give them the cash. Or like we've established in this video, tip them 30% instead, because that can at least make them pass the tax cut. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I said, this video was more of an informative video, and like I said, if you still don't agree with me, that's on you, and that's completely fine. But just bringing light and shedding light to the situation of the things that servers go through. Thank y'all so much for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, especially subscribe, and I hope that y'all have a good day. Bye.